and today's video is going to be about releasing middle back tension. So there's a couple of things that we need to know about this area of the back and middle back tension in general. The first thing is looking at the different functions of the different parts of the spine. So our lumbar spine, where the lower back curve is, allows us to move more. So this way. Our thoracic spine doesn't really move in the same way as the lumbar spine, but it enables us to twist more. So these are functions that we want to honour, right? So when we twist, why we try and keep the knees and hips in line is so that we're not actually twisting from the lumbar spine, but we're more twisting from the thoracic spine. So we'll look at doing some twists to kind of loosen up the whole area. We'll warm up the whole body because in general, parts of the body respond better and are all interconnected, from our fingertips to the tip of our tongue to our toe tips. So it's good to warm up everything, so we'll do that. And then to understand why we get this middle back tension, so thank you Sarah for this request. And she was actually saying that it's made worse for her from carrying her child. So that's one of the ways that we create this middle back tension. But looking at everyday life, especially modern everyday life, if you're sat at a computer or reading or on iPad, iPhone, something like that for a long period of the day, what this does is actually tip the head forward slightly. And so the head is heavy, I think it's about 8 or 9 pounds. And so if the head is tilted forwards slightly, it means in order to support that, all the muscles along the back have to kind of contract to stabilise the spine again. And you can imagine that if we just do this a couple of times, then it's not really a problem. But if we're doing something repetitively or for a long period of time, like, working on a computer, carrying a child around and, not being very mindful of the position of the head or our posture in general, then these muscles on the back, particularly upper and mid-back, are kind of stretched out and contracted. So there's two different types. There's a muscle that is long and contracted, which is already stretched, and there are muscles that are shortened and contracted. So if we look at the opposite sides of the body, the muscles in the back will be long and contracted and tight, and the muscles in the front body will be shortened and contracted and tight. So we want to balance that out a little bit. So sometimes just working into the muscles of the mid-back region doesn't offer that much long-term relief, because we also have to release this kind of the shortened muscles here that prevents the back from rounding. So we're going to do all of that today. Okay, so we're just going to sit comfortably and just start by centering. You can sit up on something if you want to. We're not going to be here very long. Thumb and index fingers together, palms to the centre. Thumb and index fingers together, centre of the palm towards the ceiling. Take a deep breath in. On your exhalation, soften your eyes closed and relax your shoulders. So just beginning to really allow the physical body to just settle onto your yoga seat. You can feel the lengthening of the spine and spaciousness at the sides of the neck as you lift the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Try not to grip here, try not to do any of that with too much effort. And then I want you to just begin to focus on your breath. So in yoga, when we talk about breathing into different parts of the body, obviously we know that we haven't got lungs in our hands or our feet or our pelvis. But yogically, we talk about pranic breathing. So where is the energy that is contained within the breath going? Right? And can we direct that to somewhere that we need it to be? So we're going to try a little something here. As you inhale, Imagine you're drawing the breath in through the front of the pelvis. And as you exhale, send the breath out through your lower back to soften all the tissues of the lower back. Inhaling, drawing in through the front of the pelvis. Exhaling, softening through the lower back. So continue that and see if you can actually feel this sensation of softening, of creating space, of relaxation, particularly in your lower back. And then as you continue this, I want you to see if you can get that same sensation as you exhale through the lower back to actually warm and widen all the way up to the middle back, just beneath the shoulder blades. Take a deep breath in. On your exhalation, open your eyes, wiggle out your fingers, take your hands together and just circle out your wrists. Good. Okay, so you come onto your hands and knees. So in order for us to work more into the thoracic spine, which is where we want to kind of predominantly work, we have to know that it's not going to provide us with as much movement as working from the lumbar region. But what we want to do is really shore up the lower back spine by drawing the belly in and up to make sure that that is stable, right, and quite fixed in place compared to the thoracic spine, and then we're going to move from the thoracic. So as we inhale here, I want you to draw your chest forwards, take your shoulders back, give your shoulder blades a little bit of a squeeze, and see if you can melt the center of the chest down towards the floor. Your lower back curve will want to accentuate, but I want you to keep the tuck of the tailbone, lifting the belly in and up to prevent that from happening. Take a deep breath in, bend your elbows a little bit. As you exhale, press your hands into the floor and round through your upper back. So now think about the center of the heart, the back of the heart, reaching up towards the ceiling. Keep pressing the floor. Good, take a deep breath in, bend your elbows. On your exhalation, begin to transition. So curling the heart forwards and then inhale, loads of space around the heart, shoulders back, squeeze shoulder blades together, hold it there for a few breaths. Take a deep breath in, bend the elbows. On your exhalation, press into the floor and press the back of the heart up towards the ceiling. Let's stay here and just take a few breaths into the back of the heart. As you inhale, see if you can feel some more space between the shoulder blades. And as you exhale, see if you can allow that place to soften. Great. Okay, back to center. You're going to take your right fingertips up to the ceiling. On your exhalation, slide your hand through, come up onto your left fingertips, and then continue to slide your arm through and roll down onto your shoulder. So here, again, I want you to lift through the belly and see if you can lengthen the spine a little bit. Pressing into your left fingertips, roll the top shoulder and shoulder blade onto your back. And then find somewhere here that feels good. So I want you to maybe tuck your head in a little bit. Maybe find a little bit of a rounding through the upper back until you find your particular area of tension, somewhere that feels like it really needs the light of your awareness for the next few breaths. Good, and then slowly release. Come up onto your hands. I just want you to think that you've got a pencil at the center of your chest. Keep shoring up the lower back spine by taking the belly in and up. And then just draw a little circle with the center of the chest on the floor, one direction and then the other. Good. Keep this action in the belly. Inhale, take the left fingertips to the ceiling. On your exhalation, begin to slide the hand underneath you. Come up onto the right fingertips and then continue to slide away as far as you can. Roll down onto your shoulder. You'll want to keep lifting the belly to lengthen the spine. And there, you can just adjust
So you might want to curl the head in a little bit, might want to round a little bit through the upper back. Somewhere in there could feel good. And then this right shoulder and shoulder blade, roll it onto your back. And then see if you can take a few breaths right there where you need them, right there where you're feeling it. Good, and then release, come back to center. We're going to draw a little circle with the center of the chest, both directions. Beautiful. Sit back onto your heels for a moment. All right. Okay, you're going to place your hands down, so fingertips to knuckles, and then roll down to the heel of the hand. Lift the knees, step back into a downward facing dog, and let's just start to walk it out a little bit. Good. Okay, inhale, lift the heels up high. On your exhalation, wave forwards, find your plank. Keep lifting the sides of the belly, and then inhale, on your exhalation, slide the heart forwards, bend the elbows straight back, pubic bone down, point the toes, inhale, shoulders back. On your exhalation, lift your hands, lift your belly, lift your chest. Take a few breaths there. And then release just a little bit, interlace your hands behind your back, then pull your knuckles towards the wall behind you. Shoulders back, inhale, keep the head neutral, feel like there's space at the back of the neck. Inhale, on your exhalation, lift from the belly, lift from the chest. You might be able to take the hands a little bit further away from you, but keep pulling the knuckles towards the wall behind you. Good, and then release the hands. Inhale there. On your exhalation, with straight legs, you're going to start to lift psoas, sides of the belly, flip over one foot and then the other, and then walk that out. Walk your feet together behind you. We're going to inhale, bend everything. On your exhalation, take a little hop between your hands. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees. With the knees bent, I want you to feel the press of the feet into the floor as the floor presses back into you. Begin to take it up. Wide wave through the sit bones. Lift the front of the pelvis. Lift the lower back in and up. Elbows to the ceiling. Inhale, reach. On your exhalation, stick out your tongue and keep the knees bent. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. This time. Inhale, straighten the legs. And exhale, let the arms roll down. We're going to roll the shoulders out. Great. Okay, so now we're going to use the wall to really start to open up the armpit chest here, the pectorals here. So it's this area that often gets really tight that causes us to be quite rounded. It's really, really common, but this action causes these muscles to straighten, lengthen rather, and contract, and it's not comfortable. So we have to actually release here in order to kind of allow those muscles in the back to release a little bit. So you're going to find a wall, so any kind of wall, and you're just going to stand. So you're going to stand facing the wall with your chest lined up to the wall. So imagining my wall comes out here. And then you're just going to place your hand onto the wall at about shoulder height. So not really high, not really low, but about shoulder height there. And then it's probably best to stand with your feet a little bit apart. And then find your Tadasana there, so moving the front of the pelvis in and up, finding that gentle tug of the tailbone. And then with no hurry at all, I just want you to start to turn your toes away from the wall in the opposite direction to your hand. And then every few breaths, see if you can turn just a little bit more. And just notice, is this putting any pressure on any other parts of the body? Is the lower back okay? If that starts to get twerky or tweaky, you can walk your feet a little bit closer to the wall. But just continue like that, every few breaths, and then you should really start to feel the opening here. So in order for those muscles to really release, we're going to stay here for about 1.5 minutes, but I don't want you to be in a position that feels really, really intense. We're just again, playing this edge of stretch. So actually the fascia can release as well as the muscles. Good. And you might find after a few breaths that you can turn a little bit further away. And you just keep working into it. And when you've kind of come to your limit, just kind of turn the head side to side and see where it feels good to have the head. So if your head turns more towards the wall, it will definitely just soften the neck. But if you turn the head in the opposite direction, you'll get a stretch all the way up through the side of the neck. So do what feels good for you. And then see if you can continue to relax the shoulders down. Think about the connection between the neck and shoulder. And see if you can release that. Okay, we'll take just a couple more breaths here. And then deep breath in. On your exhalation, really, really slowly turn back to your face. Ooh. Then you can release your hand and then just roll the shoulders out for a moment and just observe. So just observe left to right and see if there's any difference in sensation. So I feel so unbalanced right now, with this side feeling so open and light and this side feeling kind of dense and bound up. So obviously we don't want to stay like that, so we're going to do the other side too. So you'll stand facing the wall, bring your hand at about shoulder height, and then in your own time, every few breaths, just beginning to turn away from the wall. Probably keeping the feet a little distance apart. And so you'll know if you've gone too far initially if this shoulder does this, if it really comes up towards your ear. So you want to keep it back and down and keep those muscles really long. Every few breaths you might be able to turn just a little bit more. So if you feel that difference from just doing this for, a minute or so, imagine if you did this every day, and imagine how much of our time is spent with our head in this kind of forward position and slightly rounded shoulders, that, it would make sense if we were to spend, an hour in this position, but even a minute makes a big difference. Okay. When you've pretty much come to your capacity, you can do the same thing, just turning the head and finding somewhere in there that feels good for you. Keep dropping the shoulders down. Keep breathing into it. Okay, just a couple more breaths there. And then slowly turning back to the wall. Release your arm. And once again, just observe any sensations. And then let's just even them out by rolling the shoulders out. Beautiful. Okay. Excellent. Palms together. Inhale, reach for the ceiling. On your exhalation, fold and bow, knees soft. From there, I want you to interlace your hands behind your back. First of all, bend your elbows, make sure your feet are a little distance apart. And then start pressing the knuckles towards the ceiling. With the knees bent a little bit, see if you can draw your hands further over your head towards the floor. And then maybe playing with that a little bit, so bending one leg. As you bend one leg, you might want to turn your heart in the opposite direction to get a little bit of a twist there. Good, release the fingertips to the floor. Inhale to halfway lift. On your exhalation, plant your fingers to knuckles, palms down, step back, downward facing dog. Let's take a little bit of a walk out there. And then bring the knees to the floor. Have your hips above your knees and then begin to walk your hands out in front of you. So again, as you come into this, as you press your hands away, trying to keep the arms straight, we're going to drop the forehead down and then see if we can continue to drop the chest towards the floor. Your forearms could be off the floor or they could be resting down. You might want to turn your chin to look forwards. Just keep continuing to let the center of the chest, the heart, melt towards the floor. Good, turn the forehead down. Walk your hands back in. And then separating the knees wide apart, big toes together. Just sit back onto your heels and come into a child's pose. But here I want you to actually turn the palms towards the ceiling so we begin to open up the serratus there on the back. And maybe just pulling the arm bones back into their sockets a little bit. Let the fingers curl, the center of the palms relax. And then see if you can once again just direction your breath. Right there between the shoulder blades and under the shoulder blades. As you inhale, really breathing into the back of the rib cage, the back of the heart. As you exhale, relaxing everything, surrendering to gravity. Good, turn your palms down. Come back to downward facing dog. Walk your feet together behind you. Inhale, bend everything. Exhale, little bit of a hop towards the hands. Inhale to halfway lift. On your exhalation, let your abdominals carry you up. Inhale, elbows, fingertips to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to your heart. Okay, from there, we're going to bend the knees. Begin to lift through the front of the pelvis. And then this time I want you to take your weight onto your right foot, pick your left knee up, and then flexing the foot, cross the ankle over the opposite knee, and then begin to sit down. So think about the balance of your foot. Think about the foot pressing into the floor and really gathering the energy from the floor up, out of the sit bones, and then lifting through the front of the pelvis, the front of the belly, the psoas, the lumbar, and then sitting down a little bit deeper. Good. From here, we're going to maybe start to take a little bit of a twist. So I want you to find a spot on the floor that you can stare at. And then take your right hand onto your waist and your left forearm onto your left foot. Good. Inhale there. On your exhalation, release. Hands to your waist. Step your foot down. Bend your knees. Inhale, reach. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. This time as you inhale, straighten the legs, let the arms drop down, bend the knees a little bit, keep lifting from the front of the pelvis, take your weight onto your left foot this time, and lift your right knee. Flex the foot, hook the ankle over the opposite knee. Think about the balance of the foot, begin to sit down, take the hip creases back, so bending that standing leg, find a spot on the floor that you can stare at, keep lifting in and up from the lower belly, psoas. And then begin to take a twist. So we're going to take the left hand onto the waist and then your right forearm onto the right foot. Good. Inhale there. On your exhalation, release. Just going to shake the legs out a little bit. Shake the arms. Great. Okay. Come down to sit. And we're just going to sit in a bit of a cross-leg situation. But I want you to have your right leg on top. So if you can, right, this might look more like a cross leg, and that's fine. Right, it will get into the place that you need to get it into. But if you can, think about your shins being stacked more on top of the other, or maybe ankle over knee and knee over ankle as best you can. And then from there, I want you to press into your fingertips and lengthen the spine. So if this needs to be cross-legged or kind of half lotus for you, then that's totally cool. Good, and then lift in and up from the belly, from through the spine, and slowly come forwards. Okay, from there, I want you to start to twist. So we're going to twist around to the left. Bring your right elbow onto your right foot and draw your palms together. So my elbow's on the sole of the foot, it could be on the knee, right? If that doesn't work for you, you can literally have the forearm, just like when we were standing, and the hand on the waist. You might want to be here. You might want to actually take the left hand and place it around the back to roll that shoulder open a little bit more. Or you might want to come lower down. So I just want you to find something here that feels good. So it will be pretty intense on this hip, but remember we're trying to get into the spine here, the thoracic spine. So I want you to really lift and lengthen and see if you can create space along the whole of the spine. Take a deep breath in. On your exhalation, release. So we're just going to switch the legs over. Good, take a deep breath in. And on your exhalation, start to turn. So it could be just like this. Hand onto the waist, forearm down, lengthening the spine, really making sure you've got a lot of length in the thoracic spine there and then turning into it. If you've got more space to move into, elbow onto the sole of the foot, palms together. Could be the right hand, back of the hand on the sacrum. Or palms together, maybe coming down a little bit lower. As you inhale, really lengthen through the spine, all the way out through the crown of the head. On your exhalation, turn into it. Couple more breaths. And then slowly release. Beautiful. All right, begin to stretch the legs out. Okay, so we're going to come into a passive twist just to finish up. And this is one of the best ways to release this mid-back tension. So I'm just going to have you draw your knees into your chest and then press the feet away from you. So I want you to wrap your left leg over your right. So you're going to wrap your left leg over your right. You can eagle wrap the legs if you want to, but that's not important. And then bring the feet onto the floor and just take your hips a few inches over to the left and then let your knees drop over to the right. So then you want to spread your arms out and then just turn in the direction of your left hand. If this feels too much, unwind the legs and just have one knee on top of the other, or you could put a cushion or a block underneath your legs there. And then just for a moment, let's take this arm back over. So you're going to bring one hand on top of the other. And then from there, see if you can press out through the sit bones and then lengthen the spine a little bit. So you might need to actually just slide your shoulders and your head up the mat. And then from there, begin to open up. So that might actually feel like a little bit more of a release, or actually like you're getting into places that you weren't before. You can turn your head in the opposite direction to your knees. We'll just hold it there for a couple more breaths. You could really stay in this for a few minutes. Okay, bring the head back to center. Draw your knees back to center. Uncross the legs. Bring your hips back to center. And then just for a moment, just going to release the back. Draw the knees into the chest. Take a little rock side to side. Great. We'll go to the other side. So pressing the feet away. This time you're going to cross the right leg over the left. Place the feet back down. Hop the hips to the right and then let the knees fall to the left. Spread the arms out, turn your head in the opposite direction to your knees. And then we're going to take the right arm over and then just for a moment, really think about sticking your butt out and then lengthening through the spine. So if I lengthen through the spine, it feels like I want to creep my shoulders and head further up the mat and then begin to open out. So can feel more intense, but you're really getting into it then. And then just close your eyes, let everything relax, soften, use your breath for the next few breaths. Okay, from there, inhale, exhale, draw your head and your knees back to center, uncross, realign the hips. And the very last thing before we come into relaxation, just going to draw your knees in, press your feet towards the ceiling. Your arms will be on the inside of your knees and you'll catch hold of the outside of the feet. So a little bit of a happy baby situation here. If you can't reach your feet, then bring your forearms into the backs of the knees and kind of hug onto the knees there with the legs. So what we're going to do is just begin to rock side to side. So either here, if that feels good, or holding onto the edges of the feet can feel good too. So as you do this, you want to see if you can lengthen through the collarbones, so keeping the shoulders down, and then see if you can press the tailbone towards the floor, and then as you deepen the groins and press away, so pressing the sit bones wider, you should feel that this gets a bit wider and kind of more contact with the floor. So keep all of that and then begin to take your rock side to side. Great. Okay, soles of the feet together for a moment, just open the knees out, continue that little rock. And then draw the knees together, soles of the feet down. You're going to turn your palms to the ceiling, press your feet a little bit straighter. Notice how it feels to just relax there with your feet really close, and then notice the amount of space that you get. If you begin to open the feet a little bit wider, and then really snuggle yourself into the floor, stretch your fingertips away, close your eyes. And as we relax here, using a gentle breath, see if you can still begin to send the breath into the back of the heart, to perhaps widen the collarbones, the shoulder blades as you inhale. And then see if you can really soften, allow the middle back just to melt into the floor with every exhalation. Take a deep, full breath in, holding at the top of the inhale. On your exhalation, let it go. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Take a big, giant stretch out in all different directions. And then drawing the knees in, roll over to one side. Pause for a moment. And then as you press the floor away from you, think about rebuilding the spine from the base of the spine up through the thoracic spine, out through the cervical spine, up through the crown of the head. Bring the head on straight. And then for a moment, just observe Right, so probably now we're a little bit more aware, we're a little bit more open in certain places so the head can be on straight much more easily. So just notice what this feels like and check in from time to time during your day and just notice the position of your head. Draw your palms together at the centre of your chest. Take a deep breath in. On your exhalation, bow your head to your heart. Namaste.